Good evening from Ghana, good afternoon from North America, and good morning from Asia and other parts of the world. You're welcome to another episode of Music Time with Varrick. This is the second edition, and for our topic for today, I'm going to give you Varrick's take, my own take about the subject. Are musicians or professional musicians of today or current professional musicians economically better than musicians of old? So for this, as I said, I am going to give you my take on it for this week's episode. Next week, we'll have a strong panel to break it even more further and to discuss things around the same subject and even beyond. Let's go for this break, and then we come for my take, Varrick's take on the subject. Are professional musicians of today, or the current professional musicians of today, better economically than musicians of old? Hello, friends. I am specially inviting you to join me every Monday at 8 p.m. for Music Time with Varrick. It's going to be a very discussive program with my friends as we delve strictly into music and creative arts, discussing everything that there is to discuss. It will be a wonderful show. I want you to be part of it. Join me. Let's talk, let's discuss and see the progress of our industry. It's going to be a wonderful show. Your favorite stars, your favorite musicians, they'll all be on the show. It's going to be a wonderful time. So don't forget, every Monday at 8 p.m. Ghana time, you can tune in on Facebook, Varrick JVA, and also on YouTube, Varrick TV. It's going to be wonderful. Join me. Thank you. Okay, welcome back from the break. So before we progress, I think the first thing we need to be clear about is when we say a musician, what are we referring to, or who are we referring to? According to some dictionaries, let me just sum it up and give you a classical definition of what a musician is, or who a musician is. A musician is a person who writes, sings, or plays music, and especially as a professional. So the key word here with today's discussion is professional. Professional as in someone who makes a living out of the practice of music, playing, singing, writing of music. So it's a bit clear for us to know which direction we are going. And someone will ask, how does someone become a musician? In this case, I'll only outline two areas. It's by training and by practice. There are people who are trained to become musicians. It's possible that someone might not know anything about music and will be trained to be a musician. There are those people. And there are people who become musicians through practicing. I mean, some started playing piano as early as 3, 4, 5. So those people have become professionals or pros from practicing. So whichever means you have the opportunity to become a musician, you are still qualified to be a musician. Hallelujah. So moving further to our topic, which is about current musicians or professional musicians of today. Are they better economically than our past professional musicians or past musicians? This is an open discussion about musicians. Various kind of musicians. We have pop musicians, we have art musicians, but for this discussion, I will narrow it down a bit to the art music or the gospel scene, just a bit, so we can have a clearer picture of what we are discussing. But before we can get this insight, I can freely give you my own take about what I'm talking about. We need to learn from the past. How have musicians lived in the past? In this context, I am going to share two clear lines about the Western world and the Ghanaian or the African part of the world too, how they have treated music or musicians in the past. Western music can be broken into various periods. I mean, Western art music. We've had a Renaissance, we've had the Baroque, we've had a classical, romantic periods, and currently we are experiencing 21st, so we started from the 20th and 21st century music. So these are all periods. We can discuss them further later. But to put all of them together, they have come from somewhere. And in those periods, musicians have lived a certain kind of life. If you go back to, say, the classical period or even the Baroque period, there are some big names like George Frederick Handel and just back how they survived in music. Handel was giving concerts. He was an orchestra master. He had his own orchestra, giving opera concerts, writing his own operas, presenting his own operas, because there was a patron system, especially in the United Kingdom, the UK, where he lived most part of his life. There was this patron system, and people believed in arts, that Handel could present his own works and sell tickets and make money from gate proceeds. So for a long time, I don't know Handel as a practicing church musician. Though some of the works he wrote were religious music, but he was an opera person presenting operas in concert halls. He was a concert master and doing his own stuff. Beethoven, you know Beethoven. Beethoven is from another period with Mozart and others. They wanted, let me first talk about Haydn, for instance. Haydn lived under the Esterházys, for instance. He was a musician in the palace, or what we will say, yes, the palace. He was working under the royal family in Austria, his home country. And he, for instance, was like a normal servant. He was writing music. He was a servant. He was also part of those who served the king. So his was to produce music. So he goes to work, wears a uniform to go compose music, direct his orchestra, close, and go home. So, and that's how Haydn survived. But Handel was a concert master. He was doing his own operas. Mozart, Beethoven lived a different kind of life. Beethoven wanted his freedom. He wanted to be the musician he was, write his song, be paid for his works. So we are talking about 16th century, 17th century, 18th century people lived as full-time musicians and were paid to do their work. He was composing, was a full-time musician, just composing for concerts and performances, and he survived very well. So that is the Western world. We'll come back to the modern Western world and how things are. Let's also focus and come back to our own domain, the African domain, and how musicians of old have survived. I think we'll go for a very short commercial break.
No
the break, we are taking the discussion from where it ended. I'm sure I spoke about the Western world and how the musicians of old lived and practiced their art. Now we're back to our own domain, which is the African continent. Maybe specifically I can speak about Ghana. This is my country and this is where I'm from. So I can share some insights with you. Most old Ghanaian musicians that I have come across were into other professions because Christianity was introduced to the Ghanaian people, and people were taught to play the organ or the keyboard and were taught to compose music. And they were doing this as part of service to the church. Most of them were already in other professions, especially the teaching profession. So if you are quite in this game of choral music, for instance, or you have been with choral music for a while, you hear big names like, teacher Issy Bilson, other names, head teacher, he's a schoolmaster. You hear a lot of this because they were all professionals in another field already. They were teaching, some were head teachers, some were bankers. I know one old choir master, Auntie Clark, I learned to be a banker, for instance. And so we've had Captain Teshi Manson, who was a captain of the Black Star Line. So most of them were into other professions with their passion for music. So they were not living as professionals or music professionals. They were professionals in other great areas, practice music. I don't want to judge whether they had more time, spent time on music or not. That one is another discussion. But all I'm saying is that they practice music maybe as a pastime or a hobby or as a service to the community and to worship in the church. There were other musicians who practiced full-time music, which I know of. And most of them lived as itinerant musicians. Itinerant musician refers to people who don't stay at one place. They move around practicing their music because they did not have a full-time job to stay at one place. If he stays here in, say, Accra and practices his music, he doesn't have the openings or the opportunity to practice his music, and he will not make any living from it. Just like the people giving concert, I mean, in terms of concert party and all those singers, they had to travel around giving concerts in villages and other places to survive. So these itinerant musicians also did the same. So for example, someone will travel today, which is a date in March. We'll go to the first village. Accra is too big. Let me use maybe my own region, central region, where I come from. Maybe we'll move all the way from Winneba, get to, say, Isachel. And then with his 4 new compositions, he will just go and teach almost every choir around, or any choir or church will be open to his new compositions. He meets them for like a week, teaching them new music, very impressive work. But then, the person usually comes at no invitation. So we'll be at the mercy of the people's reception and their care and what they want to do to him. In most cases, he will finish this one, he will earn something small and a lot of foodstuff. I'm sorry using foodstuff, but actually, in kind, it was more of a payment than in cash in those days. So you earn some foodstuff and maybe a little transportation. You move from Isachel to the next village to do the same thing for like a week, move to another village, or cross from there to Akimodan areas, finish that. So he will be on tour for 3 months, teaching his music, helping build other choirs, and spreading his music, which is a brilliant idea. But for 3 months, he leaves home and comes back with nothing to really write home about, because he's not seen as a professional who will come and earn a professional fee. He will be at the mercy of those who have received him. As I said, he comes with no invitation. He thinks that he has written new music that must be spread. And he comes to teach choirs and moves to the next village. So for 3 months, Samponsa will be moving from one village to another teaching his music. And in modern terms, just imagine that after 3 months of working somewhere, he comes home with, let's say, about 3,000 Ghana cedis or less. How can that person take care of the family? It's a problem. So I'm just trying to share some insight with you to what has happened in the past. So what I'm saying is that those people were not rich. They didn't make a good living out of music. Do you blame them? Do you blame a system? Or we were just beginning a journey of music in the African continent? So most of these people were poor, as I said, and most were not able to take care of their families. So it comes back to reasons why most families would not entertain musicians in their homes, either making their children become musicians or even allowing them to get married to musicians, because the records are there. There have been poor people. With all their talent, most of them have been poor. So this has been the life of the African musician in the past. Itinerant musician, shadow crew somewhere to make ends meet. We'll come back to the discussion after this music break. We are back from the break, and we continue our discussion. I am sure we have learned a lot from this historical account that I have shared with you. Now, we are back to our discussion. What is the reality? Are we better than our forefathers who practiced full-time music? I am sure you are wondering and thinking about it. You have a lot to share with us. You can comment, tell us what you feel. We are going to pick it up in later discussions, as I have assured you that today I am sharing my own thoughts with you. I'm giving you my insight and my take. But in the next episode, I am sure we're going to learn a lot. We can bring all our comments and all suggestions to the table to know what the future has for us as musicians. Are we better than our forefathers? We are not running away from it. The reality is no. I'm sure you are not happy about it, or we are all not happy about it, but that's the reality. People who practice full-time music or art music, especially in our part of the world, are not doing well economically are poor people. We are poor. Yes, some may be lucky. We may have a few people who may be lucky in terms of them planning something good for their lives, which will come to that it is very important for every musician to do. But the general thing is that musicians, full-time musicians, are not doing well. One, music takes a lot of time. So if you are going to be a full-time musician, for instance, if you are going to be a composer or a keyboardist, let's say an organist, in the Western world, no organist practices 1 hour in a day and thinks can be a professional organist. I know people, it's a standard rule. They practice between 6 to 8 hours a day as organists. So he's practicing 8 hours in a day, or sitting down to plan music, compose music for hours. By the way, Handel composed the Messiah in some 26 days. You know then definitely that 26 days he's not going to be on Bank of Ghana or any corporate body's payroll, because he will not be going to work for 26 days. He has to lock himself, write, meditate, and write. So with this, you know that person cannot do any other work. So as I shared with you, 8 hours of organ practice, do you think the person can work anywhere else? No. So in the Western world, it's a different thing. Once they accept that 8 hours of full-time music is, we will respect them as professionals and pay them their due when they request. They are okay. They invest all time into it. But in our world, or in our African world, they tell you to look for something else to do if music is not working. It's true. You can look for something else to do. But as of now, I'm not advising anybody. I am just painting the right picture that professional musicians or those who practice music full-time here in our part of the world are not making better lives as of now. My second point is that do we need, I posed a question, do we need skilled musicians, for example, composers in our part of the world? If everybody decides to do what every other musician is doing, for instance, if we all decide or everybody decides to go and do 8 to 4 or 5 p.m. job because we need to earn a living, I am sure there'll be something lacking. When we go to church and imagine our church choir singing the same songs for like 3 months, the same choruses, when it gets to offertory, they sing the same song. You say, it's we are to wait. Won't you sing any new song? That simply means we are expecting people to be writing, people to be composing. And who are these people who compose? They are musicians who have equal challenges like everybody, who have equal needs, but they have to spend time to compose. They have to spend time to practice, to give us concert. We need people to give us organ concert. How would they do that if they have to spend 10 hours elsewhere doing other things? They have to sit down and practice for us, or else very soon we'll lose everything like that. But we know we want that. We need that in our world. Actually, nobody can survive without music. It never happens. We think we can. But even hearing or listening to the news or radio is a form of music. Even if it's not music, it's news. We hear something. Without it, we'll go mad. So if we need these skilled people, I always give an example that the people we treasure most, like the Bachs and Beethoven and Handel, especially in Africa. If Handel was a carpenter as his 8 to 4 p.m. job, I'm sure he would not have been able to write a lot of the works he wrote for us because he would have to concentrate on his carpentry job to make a living. But he was writing beyond our borders. If you go to the carpentry shop and close at 4, you get home and you are tired. You will not be thinking of composition or even practicing. So, because these people dedicated their lives and time, they were able to do some of the things we love and we appreciate. What do we have to do? We need to compensate them for their work. How do we compensate them? But by patronizing what they do, by supporting what they do. There are people who even decided our composers, when they make albums, will not buy from them. They want to make money. I won't buy from them. They would duplicate them. When they put a book together, we'll make photocopies and other things. How will they survive? If they don't survive, there's no future for everybody. So that's my second point, that if we need people to dedicate their lives to full-time things like composition, giving concerts, and other musical things, they need to be compensated and they need to also be okay because they also have needs. They have families and they must care. They want the good life that everybody wants. They have to struggle with everybody doing the same thing. You know that then there won't be any special thing. Very soon we'll go to church. We should be ready that when they call offertory, we are going to sing the old song we know 20 years ago, and we'll be singing like that for the rest of the century. My next point is that, do we still need the people for the future? We must think about their welfare, as I've said already. One interesting thing about music is that nobody ever decides before birth or at birth to be a musician. It is passion that draws a lot of people to music. If we do have the chance to make music a lucrative one for people who practice it, we should do it now. Because no one decides from birth to be just a musician or anything. It's passion that drives them. And when passion pushes you, it doesn't mean you have decided to be poor. That's why music or the love of music has visited you. Don't forget that your child or your relative may be a musician with your consent or not. In your next generation, your son decides that I love music so much and I want to play guitar in the band. If bandsmen are not well paid, it technically means that your son is going to be poor. Why not strive to make their work better? Just believe in their creative skill, that they also have the strength and ability for creativity and music. They have a specialty in creating something. We need to support them to be the best they can be. As I said, the love of music comes unannounced. I know my child can be a musician. You must also know that your child or your ward, your relative, the next generation, or even the current generation can fall in love, can have passion for music. So let's make the ground a solid one so that if we have our people or our wards going into or falling into such passions, we are not found wanting. Today we can talk about footballers because people have built on it. And I am also encouraging musicians to team up and to make our profession a better one. I know it will be a difficult one to ask people who are not musicians to build our field for us. We need to think about it and come together. What is the way forward? This is my final point. I think right from the word go, when you start practicing music, your future must also be a concern to you. I see a lot of musicians, I talk to a lot of them who don't care about anything. There are earlier times in music. It's like a fun ride. They don't take anything serious. They are just playing music. Nothing, no focus. They don't think about anything. Future is out. They don't think about the future. But as soon as you start practicing music, know that you will definitely have bills to pay. Even if you're not paying yet, you would have what? You have family, and you have to take care of them. What do? Plan your life. I'm not asking you to go and fight anybody about your future. Have a life. Think about how you want your life to be. If you want to be a full-time musician, plan it. What do you want to do? Practice only? Be a publisher? Be a teacher? Whatever you want to do, just plan your life so that you will also be a good example that we can talk about. That, oh, in the past we thought musicians were all poor. But this crop of musicians have changed things, have made music a lucrative one, and have made people who are practicing music look like decent and respectable people. So I believe that we can all learn from it. This is my own take. It's from Varrick. I know you may all have your own concerns, you have your own comments that you would want us to discuss. Please, feel free, inbox me, feel free, comment. Don't be angry, don't be sad, don't feel bad. It's just a way to discuss our field so we can get it to be a better one that we'll all be proud of. As I promised, next episode we'll have people here to discuss. We will bisect this and go deeper. So bring your comment. Thank you for being a part of this episode. I appreciate you. I want to use this opportunity to thank my production team. Mr. Eugene Danso is the production manager of Eugenius Photos, your one and only Eugenius Photos. You can reach him, look for him wherever he is. Look for Eugenius Photography and engage him. You'll be proud that you did. I also have a special invitation for you from the Evergreen Winneba Youth Choir. This is a special invitation to the Aseda concert, which is 35 years of the Winneba Youth Choir. Hooray. So the Winneba Youth Choir is 35 years. And in celebrating, they're having a concert on this very Saturday, 30th March, at the Omanye Hall, Labadi Beach Hotel, Accra, at 6 p.m. It's a free concert, but get there early because you know the Winneba Youth Choir, they can fill the place easily. So come in your numbers, let's go and support our beloved Winneba Youth Choir. Congratulations to our Honorable Pa John, Mr. Silfi, founder of the choir, Mr. Dechi, and all those who have made this choir come this very far. Thank you. On this note, we end this episode of Music Time with Varrick. See you all next week, and God bless you. I'm out of here. Hello, friends. I am specially inviting you to join me every Monday at 8 p.m. for Music Time with Varrick. It's going to be a very discussive program with my friends as we delve strictly into music and creative arts, discussing everything that there is to discuss. It will be a wonderful show. I want you to be part of it. Join me. Let's talk, let's discuss and see the progress of our industry. It's going to be a wonderful show. Your favorite stars, your favorite musicians, they'll all be on the show. It's going to be a wonderful time. So don't forget, every Monday at 8 p.m. Ghana time, you can tune in on Facebook, Varrick JVA, and also on YouTube, Varrick TV. It's going to be wonderful. Join me. Thank you.